Regards to the mass shooting that happened in Georgia, why is it that a news publication posted a story and headline that says a 14-year-old suspect, Colt Gray, was arrested and then showed an image of one of the victims who happens to be the only black victim? See, there were four victims: Mason Schermerhorn, Christian Angulo, Christina Irmi, and Richard Aspinwall. Somehow, someway, when that publication published their story, the thumbnail that was chosen was of Mason, one of the victims. And whoever tweeted this story out knew that and still mentioned the person who did the shooting, which would cause people who aren't going to click on the article, which is most people, to assume that this young black boy, rest in peace, was the one who did the shooting. And because the media subconsciously teaches us through the news and through TVs and movies by showing us as criminals and thugs more than any other group, when we see images like this paired with headlines like that, we'll have a case of confirmation bias. Meaning, because we were already programmed to associate blackness with criminality, we won't bat an eye or second guess that this might be the wrong image when we see a headline such as that connected to a shooting. And you might be wondering, like, yo, who is this 14-year-old child named Colt Gray who did this mass shooting? Well, on Twitter, X, whatever, Elon's app, when you put in Colt Gray, nothing comes up. You can only find results when you put in his first name, Colt. And the only reason we have a picture of this 14-year-old boy now is because someone who was in third grade with him posted a yearbook picture. So this is him at like probably 8 or 9 years old. And need I remind you that Colt Gray was taken alive. He was arrested. Now, what do you think would have happened if Mason did that? Rest in peace to all the victims. In regards,
Welcome to the National Newspaper Publicists Association's Let It Be Known. Indeed, indeed, indeed. I saw that. I see Dr. Nicole says I saw that. I knew they did that on purpose. Yeah, that there's no excuse for that anymore, except that they do it on purpose. They absolutely do it on purpose. And this was especially egregious. The victim, as my man said, the only black victim, and they make him out to be the perpetrator. That was absolutely insane. Um, couple of things. I'm not laughing at that. Obviously, I'm laughing because I'm looking at Aunt Pam on there, and Aunt Pam says that we always on CP time with the show, and she's a little bit unhappy that we're not starting at 7:30. That we're starting around. So she's like, "Listen, y'all better get it together." Cheryl Brown says that's crazy because I thought he was the shooter. See, and that was the thing. And then David Youngblood said he thought the black kid was the shooter. Um, that's what they wanted you to think. So this whole misinformation, disinformation, lies. It's just it continues. It continues, and this is from the local television station there, where they folks there get their news. And there you have it. There you have it. And so, Colin Gray, the father of the shooter, was charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children. The charges stem from him knowingly allowing his son to have a weapon. Um, he bought the weapon as a gift, apparently, is what has been reported. You bought your 14-year-old son, an AR-15 weapon as a gift. Yep, he definitely. It's a country of gun nuts. It's a and this is what it's all political. I can't say not to make it political, but it's all political because this is what the right wing nuts want. The gun nuts, the MAGA folks, they've been arming folks since Obama, really, but certainly the emergence of the reality TV star named Trump in 2015. He is absolutely single-handedly turned this country around, turned it into a brutal place. Somebody said who was it, Jay yesterday, said he's been to all these different countries and feels least safe in the United States. Yeah, Cheryl, he did. He said he bought it for a birthday present. Power 96 said they can share prison cells together, but they Trump certainly he has made this he has what he has done, and he has awakened the ghost of the KKK, the ghost of slavery, the ghost of Jim Crow, the ghost of all of these um, reconstructionists. Um, he's lit that fire. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew what would work, and he, along with his master, Satan the devil, has turned this country into uh, just a war zone. And folks now spew whatever social media. This place is now. It's just one of those places where you really do consider where else should I go? Where else can I go? Because I believe Jay, that he's gone to all these different countries and feels least safe in the United States, particularly particularly since after the emergence of Donald Trump. And so, and we heard what, and look, Cheryl was talking about children, but we heard what he couldn't even articulate yesterday anything about child care. He can't articulate anything. Austin says, "Where's the nuts mother?" Um, and the thing about it is, nobody is saying, none of the people, the rational people who are calling for uh legitimate gun legislation, nobody is saying that they want to upend or take away the Second Amendment. Nobody's saying that. And they know folks are not saying that. But yet, this is what they use. Nobody's saying they want to do that. They just saying we want it to be responsible. And every reasonable, rational individual should want it to be responsible. 96 says, as long as we have some black people believing Trump gave them a STEMI or PPP loan, some will continue to be in denial. Cheryl Brown says, it's the new Jim Jones won't take Mega to the Kool-Aid and they gonna drink it. Well, yeah, and I've been calling him, Barrington calls him Orange Jesus, folks call him Orange, whatever, Agent Orange. I've called him the latest version of Jim Jones. And there is no doubt, and it was already proven. About drinking the Kool-Aid. You remember during the pandemic, he told people, well, drink some bleach. And there was some who actually drank bleach because the orange man said drink bleach. There's no doubt that at his rallies, no doubt if he passed out some cyanide in the Kool-Aid, no doubt nobody would survive. They will all drink it. They will all drink it, and he will walk off to the next rally and do the same thing. There's no doubt. People say, well, how do you get from the school shooting to Trump? Because it fomented. It's like a disease. If you don't treat it, it spreads. Shootings been going on long before him. It's true. But now they have tripled down these lawmakers. I told you that yesterday. For those who may not understand, because we get the Tyreses of the world who don't understand how government works. Um, this falls 1,000% on Congress, and this particular Congress over the past 10 years is the MAGA Congress. Yeah, I say 10 because it goes back. There were Mitch McConnell was there before Trump ran. There were others. Just they were waiting for their moment. They were waiting for their moment, just like those in the woods and the mountains that came down when Trump came out. They were all waiting to get that green light. Many of them never thought it was coming. They thought it was over. The Negroes and the Hispanics were taking over, and there's nothing we can do about it. This country's going to be by 2045 majority minority. There's nothing we can do about it. Let's just stay up in our mountains and our cabins as long as they don't come up here. And then Trump came on the scene and told them, come down from the mountains, come out of your caves. The racist congressperson over there, show them you're racist. It's okay. And that's what happened. That is exactly what happened. And then y'all put him in office. That was the coup de grace. That was it. It was over at that point. And this country has never and will never recover from from that decision to put him in office over Hillary Clinton. And then you got these ignorant, not ignorant, but ignorant folks who want to say that the vice president ain't black, who want to say that the vice president is this or that. She slept her way to the top, which as if you can do in politics. You got to be elected, voted on. What did she go out and sleep with all the voters?
I can say it's fabulous. And I have to read this to you because it is hard for me to believe that this actually happened in real life. Let me see if I can get through this during the commercial break. This is Donald Trump's answer to the question. If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare more affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation would you advance? That was the question. Here's Donald Trump's answer. Well, I would do that. And we're sitting down. We had Senator Marco Rubio and my daughter Ivanka were so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue, but I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, because look, childcare is childcare. It's something you have to have. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to fairly quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send project into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers we're talking about, including childcare. Oh, we got back to childcare. It's going to take care. I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all the other things that are going on in our country, because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare. But those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth. The growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars. And as much as childcare, he said childcare again, is about being as expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. That was an actual answer by the former president of the United States to how he would make childcare affordable. Make it make sense. Jesus, take the wheel and please vote in the upcoming election. See you later. Peace.
Wow. So that's what I'm talking about. And he says Trump gave them the old sixth grade book report. I didn't read the book, so I'm going to say anything. Austin says, sounds like cognitive issues. So yesterday, a federal judge called for prosecutors and defense attorneys to file significant legal briefs in Trump's 2020 election subversion case before voters head to the ballot box in November, rejecting Trump's request to move at a slower pace. It was a testy 1 hour hearing in the federal court in D.C., but this is what I've been saying all along. This is Judge Chuckin is not to be played with. This special counsel, Jack Smith, was just wasting everybody's time with that MAGA judge in Florida. And I said all along, forget about the documents case. As long as that judge is on the case, forget about that documents case for now. As a prosecutor, you can always go back and prosecute the case. It's not double jeopardy unless and until a person is acquitted. It's not double jeopardy. So leave it alone and let's move to the DC case. Well, he didn't do that until Judge Cannon decided, okay, we're just going to we're going to toss the documents case altogether, which when everyone was saying a big win for Trump, I said big loss for Trump. He would have wanted Judge Cannon to continue to drag that out and do what she does for MAGA. The last thing he wanted was this in the hands of Judge Tanya S. Chutkan. And she let it be known she is not playing. She said, what's this big thing coming up? What, the election? The election? She said that has nothing to do with my courtroom, and nor should it. She granted a proposal by Jack Smith's office to make its case about the limits of Trump's immunity by September 26th. I was looking at, Greer sent me this thing, this recording, Lawrence O'Donnell of MSNBC, and he broke down why September 26th is going to be the worst day ever during the campaign trail, on the campaign trail for Donald Trump. And I think she's going to play it. Let's take a listen.
Tweeting the proceedings, reported this. Lauro warns about prosecutors being able to put into the public record at a very sensitive time in our nation's history, which we can't ignore. Chutkan let out a sigh and leaned back in her seat at that remark. Adam will describe that moment more fully for us, but here is how it appears in the transcript. Mr. Lauro, well, it's incredibly unfair in the sense that they're able to put in the public record at this time, very sensitive time in our nation's history, the judge, Mr. Lauro, which we can't ignore, that they're able to, basically load up on what they think this case is about without our ability to meet those factual assertions with the right to cross-examine. John Lauro will have the right to submit a written reply to the prosecutor's written description of the evidence against Donald Trump. That written reply is due October 17th. A minute later, when John Lauro once again referred to, quote, this sensitive time, Judge Chutkan had enough. Judge, wait, Mr. Lauro, yes, the judge. Let's just discuss what the sensitive time is. I understand there is an election pending, and I've said before, and I say again, that the electoral process and the timing of the election and what needs to happen before or shouldn't happen before the election is not relevant here. This court is not concerned with the electoral schedule. Yes, there's an election coming, but the sensitive time that you're talking about, if you're talking about the timing of legal issues and the timing of evidentiary issues in relation to when the election is, That's nothing I'm going to consider. The Trump team tried to throw another distraction at the judge that did not work. John Lauro told the judge he wants to file a motion to dismiss the case on the basis that Jack Smith's appointment as special prosecutor is unconstitutional. Justice Clarence Thomas was the only Supreme Court justice, that's 1 out of 9, who noted in his written opinion on the immunity decision that he also believed Jack Smith's appointment is unconstitutional. The opinion of one Supreme Court justice that is not part of the ruling in the case is, of course, immaterial, but it was enough for Donald Trump's favorite federal judge, Aileen Mercedes Cannon, who Donald Trump appointed, to reach the decision that Jack Smith's appointment was unconstitutional and thereby dismiss the criminal case Jack Smith brought against Donald Trump in Florida for illegal possession of classified documents and violations of the Espionage Act. Jack Smith is appealing that decision to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. The Circuit Court of Appeals for Washington, D.C. has ruled repeatedly over the years that the appointment of special counsels is constitutional. That means that Judge Chutkan is bound by the rulings of the appeals court in her jurisdiction. But she has, in effect, no choice but to rule that Jack Smith's appointment is constitutional. And nothing that Clarence Thomas or Aileen Mercedes Cannon has written seems to impress her. Trump's criminal defense lawyer told the judge, Justice Thomas wrote a very persuasive concurrence that suggested that the special counsel does not have authority. And in addition, another judge, a very respected judge in the Southern District of Florida, wrote a decision dismissing the special counsel's case on appointments clause basis and also on appropriations. And it is a critical issue that now has to be decided by the court in light of Justice Thomas's interest in this issue and also in light of what the judge decided in the Southern District of Florida. It seemed Judge Chutkan could not quite believe what she was hearing. She repeated to Trump's lawyer what he was asking for, which made it sound all the more preposterous. The judge, you want to file this because there's dicta in a concurrence. There's binding D.C. Circuit precedent on this issue. You have dicta in a concurrence written by Justice Thomas, and you have an opinion filed by another district judge in another circuit, which frankly, this court doesn't find particularly persuasive. So that's your basis for seeking to file that motion. Mr. Lauro, Your Honor, we couldn't file the motion because of the circuit court decision, the judge. So is your argument that another district judge in Florida, that opinion plus dicta in a concurrence in the Supreme Court, those two things combined to warrant me going against binding D.C. Circuit precedent? Mr. Lauro, what I'm saying is that the court should consider this issue, and Justice Thomas, in effect, directed us to raise this issue and suggested that we do it immediately in light of his view in that concurrence. The judge, he directed you to do that? Mr. Lauro, well, I shouldn't say he absolutely said, do it. But when you read that opinion, it's absolutely clear that that's something that we have to do now to preserve this issue. The judge, well, I certainly don't read the opinion that way. There is no suspense on how Judge Tanya Chutkan is going to rule on that motion.
First and foremost, it's laughable that they refer to Aileen Cannon as a respectable judge. And I say that not just from my opinion. Other judges in Florida are on record saying time and again that she's an absolute disgrace. She should absolutely recuse herself. They have called experts, legal experts, and other judges, her peers, have said that she should have long removed herself from the Trump case, and she refused to. And then, of course, you got Clarence Thomas with his opinion, and the fact that you saw Trump's lawyer had to correct himself immediately when Judge Chutkan said, he directed you? So is Clarence Thomas working for Trump's defense? Likely he is. Likely he is giving them direction. There's no. Yeah, I don't doubt it. But September 26th, you saw that up on Lawrence O'Donnell's screen, and we mentioned that date. September 26th is the date in which Judge Chutkan has told Prosecutor Jack Smith, Special Counsel Jack Smith, to lay out his evidence publicly. And from what everyone knows, that evidence is likely to show just how serious the crimes that the former president allegedly committed, and provide proof as to what he's done. It's almost like there's going to be this mini trial within that one day. And as O'Donnell had pointed out, um, that this is probably going to be the worst day for Trump in the entire campaign, because you're going to see, if you wasn't convinced by the 34 felony convictions in New York in the Stormy Daniels situation, if you wasn't convinced by the 2 sexual assault civil convictions in New York, if you wasn't convinced by the $500 million business fraud civil conviction, you probably will be convinced by the evidence. This is Chutkan has what folks are calling the January 6th case. Hang Mike Pence, kill Nancy Pelosi. Eventually, what was it? 5 or 6 law enforcement officers eventually lost their lives after and as a result of January 6th. Um, Folks have gotten a couple of folks, including the Proud Boy founder or leader Enrique, got more than 20 years in prison. Mike B says the polls will eat him up after the sentencing. Well, this is where they will lay out this January 6th case on September 26th. Now, his New York sentencing itself is supposed to happen on September 18th. It seems that the Judge Merchan there in New York, is sort of leaning toward postponing the sentencing until after the election, but we'll see. We will see. I know prosecutors just sent him a notice, a brief, saying, "Hey, we see no reason to delay the sentencing." But Mashawn is trying to make sure that he's in step with the Supreme Court's crazy ruling. So we'll see what happens there. But the September 26th date, I'm inclined, like Lawrence O'Donnell, to mark your calendars, because that is going to tell you a whole lot about those who support Trump. If I'm always I grew up in a house where, uh, listen, you did something wrong, you're going to be held accountable for it. We, we love you, but you got to take the you got to take the beating. And so, Trump supporters, when you see this, I mean, you should have seen enough already. It's gonna be interesting to see if they're gonna say, Donnie, take the beating. We can't support you on this. We'll see. Hey, a groundbreaking new curriculum comes to New York City public schools this year after 3 years of development. Black Studies, as the study of the world, is going to roll out citywide from preschool to 12th grade. From preschool to 12th grade, students are going to get an expanded access to the contributions of people from African descent to the U.S. and the world. Dr. Sonny Douglas of Teachers College, Columbia University, said, "This is something I think that will be amazing for all children in New York City public schools, and having a fuller, comprehensive curriculum really reflects all the individuals who have made contributions to this country and helps to explain some of the social challenges we still experience today. You know, they've been banning all this stuff, this so-called critical race theory, um, but any type of AP, African American studies. New York City is where, we and my brothers and sisters went to school, and where at that time they were not afraid to teach Black history. And of course, with all these different, um, again, Trump-led folks um, trying to do away, Ron DeSantis, Abbott out in Texas, do away with real American history, which is Black history. Um, we've lost that. I was so thrilled when my daughters, currently in their school district, was learning uh, African American studies, and most importantly, just as importantly, I should say, financial literacy. Tell me what minority community doesn't need both financial literacy and some real history? So kudos to New York City, and even to my daughters in their school districts. Um, Mayor Adams in New York, speaking of New York City, dude's in trouble. No matter how you look at it, dude's in trouble. FBI agents on this week searched the homes of multiple top officials in the administration of New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Two city officials confirmed. Among the individuals targeted were First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright and Deputy Mayor for Public Safety Philip Banks III. The reason for the search wasn't immediately clear, but if you recall, earlier this year, the FBI ran up on the mayor and seized his cell phones, and something's going on there. The FBI, the Department of Justice, they have not yet revealed what exactly what kind of it got to be corruption related, because now the late word says that the police and fire chiefs' cell phones were also seized. The commissioner, I should say, and the police and fire commissioner. Something is going on, and it's pretty huge in New York City. And they started at the top. It's usually the bottom up. They've been going from the top down here. They seized the mayor's phones and some computers earlier this year from the mayor. And now it's his deputies and his police and fire commissioners. The mayor's office said they still don't know exactly what they are looking for, but they are cooperating. But to say that they're cooperating is really interesting, because the way the FBI ran up on a mayor, especially, we're not talking about the mayor of Pittston, Pennsylvania. We're talking about the mayor of New York City. And they pulled up on him. This a couple of weeks ago, they took down DC Councilman Trayon White in public, right? They rolled up on him, and he's a council member in DC. But they rolled up on Mayor Adams. You have to believe when they rolled up on Adams, he had to think they'd taken him down. He had to have thought in that moment. Michelle says something rotten in Denmark. Mike V says, I imagine that could be the explanation as to why Mayor Adams wasn't asked to speak at the DNC. Exactly. And he obviously, Adams doesn't have a fan in Power 96. He says, I will not lose any sleep if Adams and his go along to get along gang goes to prison. They are crooked as a roach leg. He is another person in blackface. And Cheryl says it's not shocking, but hot mess. But they quick to get into the black people corruption. See, listen, Cheryl, black folks, Latino folks, you gotta listen. You don't have as who says it all the time? Is it Mike? Mike B says it. David Youngblood. You don't have the complexion for the protection. You cannot do what they do.
To my team and all the employees in the city. We're going to comply with whatever rules, and we're going to follow the law.
Veteran political consultant Hank Scheinkoff says the stakes for the mayor are high.
Either this is the greatest corruption scandal since the third Koch administration, which is the most corrupt administration since Jimmy Walker, or it's nothing. That's what we're going to be seeing over the next few months.
So refreshing to hear him say how corrupt Ed Koch was. You know, they even named, I think, what is it, one of the highways after Ed Koch. I never liked that guy, and he was the mayor for what, three terms, 4 terms. I mean, that guy, that guy got away with so much, and they're saluting him today. Not to mention, we don't even want to get into Giuliani stuff. It says, but folks voted. Mike V says folks voted for Mayor Adams, so apparently folks like him enough to cast their ballot. Well, 76 million people voted for Donald Trump in 2020. He says somebody done messed up the church's money in New York. Something happened in New York. We're gonna find out. I'm pretty sure we're gonna find out soon. But I will say this about Eric Adams. He's been out front and center. He hasn't hid. He has been front and center ever since he got wind that something was amiss, that the FBI, the Department of Justice was on his trail. I don't even think he was at the convention, David. You didn't see him. I didn't see him. David was at the convention. I don't think he was there. David Youngblood is right. And then was he even at the convention? But he has been on his job, though. Oh, okay. So David Greer says he was there. She saw him. Okay. So there we have it. He was there. He was, as some will call it, incognito for the most part. He certainly was not on the stage, right? But he was apparently in Chicago. Okay. Like I said, he has not. I will give him this. He has not hid. He is definitely not hid. Listen, Hunter Biden's lawyer, they pleaded guilty. Hunter Biden, his lawyer, after consulting with his lawyer, he pleaded guilty to all these tax charges. And prosecutors had alleged he didn't pay at least 1.4 million in taxes on time and evaded other taxes while spending millions on a lavish lifestyle. 3 felony counts he pleaded guilty to. He is scheduled to be sentenced in December. I said it before, I'll say it again. And now Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House spokesperson, said that President Biden has not changed his stance that he will not pardon his son. I find that very, very, if not hard to believe, absolutely absurd. Biden is leaving office. By December, the election will have been decided. And he must be a senile, grumpy, despicable old man if he allows this political prosecution of his son to let him do prison time. That's all I'm going to say. People say, well, maybe you don't have all the facts. Maybe not. Maybe not. But I do know that he had a plea deal. It was agreed to a year ago. And a Trump-appointed judge dismissed that plea deal, ripped it up, and said, nope, you're going to trial. And so, right, Cheryl, but Trump can get away with his taxes. So what I'm saying is that the president is on the clock. And remember, the Supreme Court said you're a king. Supreme Court said that you can do whatever it is that you want. And he didn't need the Supreme Court to tell him he could pardon his son, though. That, I mean, I don't know Hunter Biden from from Joe Smith, but I'm telling you, if Joe Biden, the president, allows his son to be placed in federal custody in December, then to me, it makes him a terrible, terrible old man. Terrible. Hey, Greer, did I tell you? So the White House is having a Black Excellence brunch next Friday. I got an email, an invite from Dr. Jill and Joe. Yes, I want to. Greer, I didn't ask you. Did you get yours? Yep. Up. David Youngblood, can you believe Greer says she got hers, but she is declining? She can't go. They want us to wear all white too. To a Black Excellence party. What is this? A Diddy redo? All white? You gotta go, Greer. Come on now. Unless if I listen, I don't know. Uh-oh, Aunt Pam said, "Don't do the crime if you can't do the time." Lord, he's Power 96. I will issue a pardon and thousands of others on November 6th. If I was Biden, heck, if I was Biden, I would raise OJ from the dead so he could finish the job. What? Yes, Mike, we'll be broadcasting from the CBC convention next week. This guy says he will raise OJ. What job OJ got to finish? Did you guys hear the story? It's so sad. It's so infuriating. Rebecca Cheptegei, the Ugandan marathon runner who competed in the Paris Olympics last month, has died after she was burned by her boyfriend. I mean, this is absolutely, and they talk about femicide in some of these African nations, and this is absolutely horrible. Um, one report said that her and the boyfriend, a guy named Dixon Nadima, had been in a dispute over some land or whatever, but they said he stormed her house with a can of gasoline and set fire to her in the house. Now, he got burned too, but he's been treated and is continually be treated at a hospital there over in Kenya. But this is, and so we get upset about other atrocities that go on in certain nations to the point where America sends troops and goes to war. Um, but this stuff in various places on the continent is tolerated. And this is just this is so infuriating. And the boyfriend has not been arrested, has not been charged with anything. This has to stop. But they've never done anything about it. They storm these other countries with dictatorships and say how they're treating the people. The Bushes and everybody else were okay with, even though Bush lied about Saddam having weapons of mass destruction, about Saddam having participated in 9/11. They lied about that, but people were quick to forgive them hanging Saddam because they say, oh, he treated his people so horribly. Gaddafi treated his people so horribly. And I'm not defending Gaddafi or Saddam, but the fact is that the explanation for their murders, for their death sentences, if you will, was how horribly they treated their people. but we turn a complete blind eye to what happens in African nations with these women. It's so hypocritical. The hypocrisy has always been there, and it's not just the Biden administration or the Trump administration or the Obama. It's every administration. She just ran the Olympics. She just did something that was to be celebrated, and it's something she could always hold on to all of her life, something she could be proud of, something that nation, her village, her people, even the doggone boyfriend should be proud of. And what does he do? And what do they encourage over there? It is whew. And just think about this. In 2021, the 25-year-old Olympic runner Agnes Tirop from Kenya, she was found dead in her home there, not far from here, from where this incident happened. Her husband stabbed her to death. Months after that, another Kenyan athlete, Damaris Mutua, who was 28, was strangled in her home, and they found her with a pillow over her face. She had just placed third at a half marathon in Angola. The boyfriend was the main suspect. This assault on women, black women, African women, is tolerated. And I didn't hear no statement from the White House. I didn't hear no statement from uh, any congressman, senator. I didn't hear nothing. Nothing. Let it have been somebody from England or Canada. Oh, the outrage would be palpable. This is absolutely, absolutely hypocritical. The hypocrisy is real among American politicians. You got to be a hypocrite to be a politician anyway, right? You got to be. Um, Here's an interesting. Before we wrap up, I got to bring this story. It's just there's so many problems with this story. In Seminole County, the sheriff's office arrested two people after the deputy reported an agency-issued firearm was stolen. So what happened? What happened was this: this officer goes into a racetrack. It's called Racetrack, the gas station. He uses the bathroom. He must have really used the bathroom, folks. Took his belt off with his gun and everything, laid it down, and finished whatever he was doing, and left. Left his gun belt right there. Forgot about it. His stomach was so relieved he forgot about the belt. And so he drives off. And at some point, as he's driving off, rolling down the road, um, realizes he doesn't have his gun belt and his gun. He radios in that it had been stolen. He assumed that there was someone in the next stall, possibly reached under the stall and removed his gun. Video surveillance from the gas station showed two people, later identified as Chance Byron and Damari Dennis. They pull up to the gas pumps after the deputy left the gas station. Detectives said the video showed Byron walking out of the bathroom with a noticeable bulge on his right side and his right arm pressed against the side. The arrest affidavit stated that both men got back into a car belonging to Byron and left the gas station. And deputies later arrested them at their home. Byron is 26 and Dennis is 23. They confessed to seeing the deputy's gun inside the stall. And according to Dennis's statement, see, they started it. Listen, you commit a crime, as Aunt Pam said, don't do the crime, you can't do the time. But they start yapping. I tell folks all the time that right to remain silent, you should use it. You should definitely use that right to remain silent because they start going in. Dennis' statement said he didn't pick up the gun because he says the reason I didn't pick up the gun because I'm on probation. Then Byron gives his statement and nah, Dennis, he showed that he pointed out that the firearm was there. And he said that the firearm, the gun, was sticking out of the toilet paper roll. Then Byron states that Dennis picked up the gun at first. He said he did it first. And then they both said, when asked why you didn't call the police, they said they didn't call law enforcement to inform them about the gun inside the bathroom. Again, he said he's on parole. So they are facing charges that include grand theft of a firearm, failure to report lost or abandoned property, and dealing in stolen property. Mike P. Mike P says, if you feel a few pounds lighter, it ain't because you relieved yourself, bruh. You left something behind. Yeah, and Power 96 says in his Fred Sanford voice about those two criminals, you big dummies. I mean, come on, this is absurd. So they got all these charges now. Now, there's one report there, and I did not find this in the affidavit, but maybe I missed it, where they tried to, or they sold the gun for on Cash App for $40. Listen, that deputy should have a problem with his higher ups. He should have a problem with his higher ups. I mean, man, what was going on? First of all, I'm just I can't do the public bathroom thing. I just can't. And he seemed like he got all relaxed, probably pulled out a newspaper and everything. I was reading the sports section. That's I can't. Oh my God. And they don't right. And they don't you don't see the cop's face. They don't even say his name. You don't see the cop's face at all being broadcast. This guy, he sits down there. I just can't do it. I cannot do it. I can't do it. The cop was a dummy too. Exactly. I mean, my oldest daughter is the same. I remember when she was I think she was like 4 or 5 years old. We were riding with some friends. We taking this cross country trip from LA. In fact, we were stopping in Pittsburgh, and but on the way, some friends they had to go use the bathroom, and I said, "You have to use the bathroom." She said, "Yeah." And so one of the ladies that was with us, okay, I'll take her. Go to the bathroom and come back. She comes right back. I don't have to go. I said, I don't have to go. She's 4 years old. I don't have to go. I said, you just said I don't have to go. The bathroom was horrible. She's like, I will wait. I just don't do it. I mean, even to urinate, I don't like going to. I just this public stuff. This I don't know how. I don't think I'm that big. I'm a huge germaphobe type. I'm not, but certain things I just can't do. Queen says he was with the John and the John. We don't know that. Gris says I don't do dorm public bathrooms if I can help it. Me too. Yep, exactly. I just can't. Just can't. I gotta go home. Gotta go home. So that cop, could you imagine? I mean, he got that comfortable too. That comfortable. That's kind of I'm not taking away any blame from these idiots who took his gun. They deserve whatever they're gonna get. Especially, look, and you in Florida messing around like that too. You got to be off your rocker. Barney Fife is what. Oh man, Jana says hi. I'm new. Hi, Jana. But yeah. I listen. Enough of this bathroom stuff. I haven't even eaten breakfast yet. I need some breakfast, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thanks so much for watching. Let it be known. Subscribe to our YouTube page, LIBK-News. Yep, next week is the Congressional Black Caucus the Foundation's annual legislative conference. We will be on the scene at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center and around DC. Remember, too, that the debate is Tuesday. So we'll be bringing you a lot of stuff on that and the CBCF, as well as on next Thursday, the NMPA's annual National Leadership Awards reception, saluting excellence and leadership. It's going to be at the Conrad, September 12th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're in town, grab a ticket. It's free. They even have food and drinks there, too. I mean, it's one of the preeminent events at the CBCF's week. So drop on in, saluting excellence, and there are some of the awardees in that picture. The Honorable Lavanza Butler, AP Powell. Like I told you yesterday, AP Powell is one of those guys you should try and meet. And very approachable guy, somebody that is from Phoenix, Arizona, the Hero Zona Foundation. We'll see if Senator Reverend Warnock will show up. Yeah, I'm calling it out like it is. Will you show up to receive the honor from the Black press of America? You know, some of these Congress people, Black or not, I don't care who they are, they're kind of funny on that stuff. Power 96 says we need some moonshine to lure him there. There'll be something that will taste like moonshine. I'm telling you, trust it. But come on out, and we'll see you then next week, and we will see you on Monday with more. Let it be known. Yes, we would love to see you, Tom.